everybody, welcome back to That Fiction Life. Today we have another Shadowhunters themed video, but this time we're going to be reviewing The Red Scrolls of Magic by Cassandra Clare and Wesley Chu. And yes, I am holding my Bellatrix dagger because I thought I'd have to have some kind of weapon in this video, otherwise what is the point? But just before I begin this review, I am taking part in the DA readathon of the Dark Artificer series. So if you are looking for a perfect chance to catch up on the Shadowhunter books, I would highly recommend getting involved. I do have a whole announcement video with all the details and also a giveaway of the whole entire trilogy. And there is a live chat on Twitter for Lord of Shadows, which is the book that I am hosting. So if you are available on the 11th of July at 7 PM, make sure to join us in the chat because the Lady Midnight chat was so much fun and we just freaked out over general Shadowhunters, so you don't necessarily need to read this book to get involved. This will be a spoiler-free video. At the very end, I will do a quick detailed chat with spoilers because I have some things to get off my chest. So I'll put a timestamp just on the screen here if you want to skip to the spoilers. If you are not yet subscribed to my channel, make sure to hit that button below because we discuss all sorts of pop culture on this channel. So if you are in any kind of fandom, I would love to have you join the ranks. So without further ado, I'm going to begin talking about The Red Scrolls of Magic. As you are all aware, I have been a massive reader of the Shadowhunter book. I have been devouring every single book like my life depends on it. I'm so attached to these characters. I'm one of the few people in the world who absolutely adores Alec to death because I remember reading City of Bones and immediately taking a liking to Alec Lightwood, and a lot of people didn't, and I feel so alone in that. So let me know if you have been a fan of Alec from the beginning, because I have not met a lot of people that liked him initially. He was kind of a moody bitch. So to now have him as a protagonist in his own story along with his boyfriend, I'm living. So in this book we are following Magnus and Alec as they venture out to Europe for a holiday, which of course has to get interrupted because Magnus gets accused of founding a cult way back in the ancient times. Their vacation gets completely uprooted as they kind of try to figure out how the hell this is possible. Did he start the cult? Why is it suddenly back and committing murder? This is a very fresh take on the Shadowhunter Chronicles because we have our main protagonist kind of seeking out a mystery rather than fighting a war in a sense. Visually, the story is stunning because the locations that we visit, we go to Paris, Rome, and the writing was so vivid and I could totally imagine them going through Europe, which is so architecturally beautiful. This book was also mindful of the fact that a lot of these events happened a long time ago in terms of the publication. This takes place around City of Fallen Angels, which was a long time ago, and so some things are very well explained to take us back to that time rather than this present time in which we are reading this book. This novel is also incredibly funny. The one-liners and the sarcastic comments were priceless, and it paired up with how perfectly this book captures that early in the relationship dynamic. This also explains why the Malec relationship really deepened. There were clearly some things missing and everything is explained. There were so many beautiful scenes in this. Oh my gosh. Everything from their one-on-one talk to the steamy scenes, which there were many, and let me tell you, yes. I think the biggest takeaway that I have is the fact that the Malec relationship has become very, very well known in YA literature, but if you look at when they were first introduced to us all those years ago, they never felt like a token to me just to add representation or tick some kind of box. For me, at least, I did not see an LGBT plus couple in a fantasy book at that time. And where there were big names being published that should have had representation, didn't. So I think I will always commend Cassandra Clare for that, for introducing Malec to us so early on in the Shadowhunter Chronicles. And to now get a whole entire book about them, I think is so bittersweet. And if you especially read the acknowledgements, you kind of see where she was coming from and her reasoning for including them in the Mortal Instruments books. And quite honestly, it made me tear up because Wesley Chu also wrote a very heartfelt paragraph in the acknowledgements about how important Malec are to the community, and so many feels. I'm so glad they exist. I think they'll be one of my favourite characters to ever come out of YA literature. My favourite part about this was that we didn't have the old characters overpowering the story. Sometimes the cameos that we're given in the Dark Artifices series have such a huge part in the actual story, whereas here we were totally focused on Magnus and Alec and their journey. The chapter lengths were incredible. This book was actually very well written. The length of it is ideal. We didn't spend too long at each location. We got to visit a lot of places. I'm very impressed how this all came together. I wasn't expecting to be so immersed in Magnus's history because of course we had the Bane Chronicles and I thought that was the extent that we would get to know Magnus. But in this book we delve so deep into his past with his family and how he felt about those things. It was an emotional roller coaster that I wasn't expecting because this is, at the end of the day, an adventure book and you're getting to experience a mystery and you're looking for clues. But on the side of that, you really get to know these characters. That's my review of this book. I'm now going to delve into spoilers, so if you don't want to know what happens, please leave this video. So for the spoilers section, I am going to talk about details, so if you are still here and haven't read the book, please skedaddle, you don't want to be spoiled. So hello, if you have read the book, wasn't it incredible? I mean, jumping all the way to the end, but that epilogue, I mean, I really felt the stakes increasing in this book, which I wasn't expecting because this is set in the past, so we know they survive all the way to the end. When Alec was poisoned, I was having some kind of reaction to it because it felt so real and like something that could potentially be life-threatening. And I kind of want to compare that to Queen of Our Own Darkness, as that's the last Shadowhunters book I read. And there were so many instances in that where the characters were in grave danger, but I never actually believed that they were. Whereas here, it felt so vivid to me, and that whole attack on the train was epic and it felt like a real battle. And having Alec being the vulnerable one was so different to the situation we're usually presented with. I know Magnus helps them a lot on the magical side, but in terms of actual fighting, it is always Alec stepping up to do that. So Venice and the Masquerade Ball, you knew something bad was going to go down because if you've watched things like The Vampire Diaries or read The Wicked King, nothing good ever comes out of masquerade balls, and now I'm terrified of going to one in real life because based on pop culture, they're not the safest places. One of my favourite scenes was when they're going to a dungeon and they just say, oh, who wants to come with me to a dungeon? Hello. So Xinyun, being the villain or the one that's actually stirring up trouble, was quite a good plot twist. After I kind of processed that it was her, I saw where it was coming from and I didn't find it as unpredictable as I would have liked. But then right at the end, whether her reveal was predictable or not, it totally didn't matter because the double plot twist of her keeping Ragnar Fell trapped in her Batcave or wherever the hell she is completely took my breath away, and I cannot believe that is a thing. So we think, okay, she's been redeemed, Alec has let her go. Turns out she's actually bloody evil after all. City of Heavenly Fire also hits completely differently now because the whole thing with Magnus and his demon daddy, we now kind of get to understand how traumatizing City of Heavenly Fire was for Magnus. Having to deal with his dad promising him in this book that he's going to eventually get him, and now we know just why that whole journey and Raphael being involved in all of this was so hard for Magnus, going to the demon realms to actually see Asmodeus. Helen and Aileen, I've always wanted to know how that relationship began because we kind of meet them in the Dark Artifices as this power couple in the Shadowhunter world. But how did you start out? Because, you know, I'm nosy. Lean especially is just blurting out everything. Oh, you know, I'm trying to be chill, but I'm really not. Was absolutely everything. Because it was this kind of awkward, I don't know how to behave around you because I kind of like you and I don't want to look like a creep. It was such a perfect scene. Magnus saying, I thought they were together all along. Again, one-liners. I definitely am excited for the second installment. I was very skeptical as to how this was going to be a series when we had everything pretty in a little bow. But it turns out, Alec, you know, you've ruined everything by letting Shinyun out because she's the devil. I really want to know what you think. Please let me know in the comments what you thought of the book. There's so much to discuss. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already and give this video a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you next time. Bye!